millions upon millions of dollars on dirt surgery every single day. In fact, graduates, if you ever want to get arrogant, just tell yourself you came from dirt. Why would God make us out of dirt? And I begin to contemplate, and I begin to think, why would we come from dirt? And then I begin to realize that dirt is the only environment that is conducive for a seed. And I begin to realize that dirt is the only substance that we can use. I mean, we can try to plant a seed inside some gold, or maybe some silver, or maybe some expensive material. But when we really look at it, dirt is the only environment that can allow a seed to grow. Hey, young people, if I can tell you anything, that God, before He has made you, He has put a seed on the inside of you. And Paul begins to say to young Timothy, hey, I want to let you know before I leave this earth that you use your gift that God has given you. Because oftentimes we see young people, they get caught up in a culture that says that if we're not this way or we're not that way, we're not able to walk in the gift that God has given us. But I want to encourage you this afternoon that God has put a gift on the inside of you so you can make a difference and you can change the world around you. And I'm so excited. Whenever I read Matthew chapter 25, starting at verse 14, there's a story that we call the parable of the talents. There's a story of a master. He's giving his servants some talents. He's giving them some gifts. And from one servant, he gave him 5 gifts or 5 talents. And for another servant, he gave him 2 talents or 2 gifts. And for one servant, he gave him 1 talent and 1 gift. And the master went away for a long time. And when he came back, he called the 3 servants in and he says, what did you do with the gift that I left you with? And the first servant said, I went out and I multiplied. I went out and I changed the world. I went to college. I got my degree. And I began to change the world. I began to get inside my career and invite people and help people and serve in the community. The second, the same with the 2. But the guy who got 1, he said, I was too afraid to make a mistake. You know, it was Miles Monroe who says that some of the wealthiest places in the world is not the gold mines of South America, or it is the oil fields or in Iraq or Iran. Some of the wealthiest place in the world is not the diamond mines in South Africa or any of the banks of the world. In fact, Miles Monroe says some of the greatest and the wealthiest places on earth are in the cemetery. Because their lives, gifts that were never used, companies that was never invented, sermons that were never preached, degrees that were never obtained. Because it was afraid to make a mistake. Young people, you go into that world and you go courageously knowing that God has put something on the inside of you. In fact, He has crafted your personality. He has crafted you to the point where He has designed you to do specific things for this world. And my greatest fear for young people being a youth pastor is not for them making some huge mistake, because I believe that we got some good young people in this room. But my greatest fear as being a youth pastor is that when our life is done, when we are done living our life and where we obtain the degrees and we've gotten married and had kids and become grandparents and great-grandparents, and we face God one day and God begins to give us a list of the things that we could have done and the list of the things that we did. I pray that the things that we did may dim in comparison to the things that we didn't do. One of the things about dirt is that in our society it has a negative connotation. In fact, we hear phrases like, you have a dirty mouth, or something is dirty. In our society, it's It's something that we use it in a negative term. And it's so funny that God will use us, dirt, and use dirt to breathe and make something special. And some of you graduates have said to yourself, there's no way God can use me. There's no way I can really make a difference. There's no way that I can pursue the degrees that God has called me to pursue. But I will say this, that God uses the brokenness and the nasty things of this society to bring beauty to this world. And there are going to be times where you make mistakes, and there are going to be times, in fact, some of you are right now thinking about all the mistakes you've made in your life, about all the things that you've done and all the wrongdoings you've done, and you're saying there's no way God can use this dirt. But let me tell you this afternoon that God uses dirt. And that he uses dirt to plant a seed, and in that seed is going to grow to do some great things. You know, I'm from Miami, Florida, and growing up, we had a mango tree in my backyard. And we had this one mango tree, and I got the mango, and it was a seed. I said, hey, Mom, if I plant this seed, would a mango grow? She said, yeah, you can do that. So I did, and I planted the seed, and I was young, and the next day I expected a tree to be there. I got to go to the backyard, and there was no tree. I'm like, what's going on with that? Mom told me that if I plant this seed, a tree's going to pop up. So I came the next day. I said, man, let me give her a day. No tree. I'm going to give her a week, and that's it. When they're weak, nothing at all. And I remember looking in the backyard, my face pressed against the sliding glass door, and I'm crying because I think my mom, she lied at me. She told me that I was going to have a tree with my seed, and I got nothing. And so my mom said, Travis, what's wrong with you? I said, Mom, you lied to me. Side note, people, you guys know, you never tell a mom that they'll lie to you. My mom said, boy, you called me a liar? I'm going to go get my belt, I'm going to knock you out. I'm like, okay. She said, why are you talking? Why are you mad? I said, Mom, I planted the seed and I have no tree. My mom said, did you water the seed? I said, no. Mom said, hey, did you try to cultivate the area? I said no. She tried to water the seed. I see lots of young people whose gift is wasted because they don't water the gift and the seed that God has implanted on the inside of them. And I encourage the young people. I mean, whenever you're talking about using the gifts for God, I mean, that parable in Matthew chapter 25 about those talents, those gifts that the master left for his servants, it was a risk for them to take. But they knew that it was something they had to do with the gifts that God gave them. We all have gifts. We all have seeds. We all are as dirt, and God has implanted and instilled something on the inside of us to go out to the world and make a difference. The question is, when the master comes back, and he looks at L.C. Bird, the class of 2012, and he begins to list all the things that he has put on the inside of you, all the creativity, all the innovative things and activities that you guys can do, all those inventions you can make, all those companies you can start, all those families you can lead. And he looks at you and he says, you were afraid to use the gift. Young people, Paul's last words to Timothy, he told him to stir up the gift that God has given them. He's saying, do something with the gift that he's given you. And when he does that, and when you do that, you change this world. Because here's the deal. We live in a culture that expects young people to be average. We live in a culture what God causes us to be is countercultural. He causes us to be a people that goes against the ways and the flow of the world. And he causes us to love people well. And he causes us not to be selfish, to focus in on ourselves. And he causes us to go out into the world and use the gift that he's given us unashamedly. And so then, when we go out, we're changing the world and we're making a difference one day at a time because we chose to use the gift that God has given you.